we had come from doing a show where we were very underwhelmed with the sales that we had made, and we had a pile of bills that had to be paid, and we're feeling rather broke and a little bit on the desperate side. And this is back before, so I guess it's long enough ago that it was back before everybody was doing things through email and the internet and stuff. And so we were maintaining, one of the things that we do is we maintain a mailing list, and now it's an email list, but back then it was just, people, if they came to the shows and they liked our work, but they weren't buying anything then, but we thought they might potentially want to some other day, we would get them to sign our mailing list, and we'd let them know that the mailing list was for sending postcards to let them know. I'm sure you guys have gotten postcards from us over the years. Anyway, we had a number of people who seemed to be particularly interested in one particular piece that we had, and that was one of the things we used to try to do, is when they'd sign the mailing list, we would make little notations in our notebook to remind ourselves of who they were, what show we had seen them at, and what particular piece they had been looking at. And we came home from that show and we sat down and we saw that we had not only the addresses but the phone numbers, because we'd gone to like Office Depot or whatever and gotten some kind of
a reception sign-in.
Yeah, and it had like time in and time out, but it kind of looked pretty, so we thought we'll use it, but you didn't have to put time in. But sometimes people would get so persnickety and they'd fill out this whole thing, and so there was a line where you'd put your phone number, and so most of the people would just put their name and address, but every so often people would fill out the whole thing. And so we looked at the book and we came back from the show and we realized that there were 3 people who had given us their phone numbers as well, and they were all those people were the people who were interested in that same piece. And so we decided, well, we never, at that point, we were only really using that as a mailing list to send postcards to shows, but we decided, well, we did have their phone numbers. We were going to just call them and say, and at that point, we had never made those kinds of phone calls. So we just were very nervous about it, but we called them and sort of said, we never did sell that piece, and we're wondering now that you've had a little bit of time since the show, did you ever have a chance to go home and look around your house and see if maybe there was a spot for it, and maybe we could bring it over and see if it would fit and that sort of thing. And basically, all 3 people said yes. And suddenly we only had the one piece, but we had sold it 3 times. So and it wasn't a one-of-a-kind piece. It was a piece that we had decided was an edition piece, but we were basically, because it was such a large piece, we were going to make the edition one at a time. But so suddenly we were making 3 of them and that was back when we had a much smaller studio, and it was a pretty large piece. So it kind of went from nothing to selling 3 big pieces of this one particular, and then making ourselves lunatics to actually get it all done at once. But it was the very first time we had ever called somebody after a show and sort of said that, and it was amazing to us that all 3 of them said, yeah, I really did like that piece, and yeah, we did look around the house, and sure, and so we...
Was that the last time we did that?
No, we should perhaps do it a little more often than